The night was quiet, too quiet. The only sound in the room was the steady ticking of a clock. Tick, tick, tick. It was soft, almost comforting, but to the man sitting in the darkness, it felt like a hammer pounding against his skull. He sat still, barely breathing, his hands resting on his knees. His eyes were wide, staring into nothingness. He was not nervous. No, not at all. In fact, he was calm, too calm. But deep inside, something burned within him. It was the eye. The old man's eye. That horrible, cold, lifeless eye. It wasn't an ordinary eye. It was pale, with a strange blue film covering it, making it look like the eye of a vulture. And just like a vulture, it watched him, followed him, haunted him. The old man himself was harmless. He had never wronged the man, never insulted him, never lifted a hand against him. But his eye, his terrible eye, was unbearable. The man couldn't stand the sight of it. Every time it looked at him, his blood boiled and his mind screamed. And so he decided. The eye had to be destroyed. A plan in motion. For 7 nights, at exactly midnight, the man crept into the old man's room. Each night, he moved slowly, carefully, making sure not to make a single sound. He pushed the door open inch by inch, holding his breath as he stepped inside. Each time, he found the old man sleeping peacefully. And each time, his cursed eye was shut. The man couldn't act, not yet. He did not hate the old man, only the eye. He needed to see it open. But on the 8th night, something went wrong. The fatal mistake. As the man entered the room, his hand slipped and the door creaked. Instantly, the old man stirred. A rustling of sheets. A quick, shaky breath. "Who's there?" The old man's voice trembled in the darkness. The man froze. He did not move a muscle. He did not breathe. Minutes passed. The old man did not go back to sleep. Instead, he lay awake, tense, listening. He was afraid. The man could feel his fear, thick in the air like a suffocating fog. Then, a sliver of moonlight slipped through the shutters and landed directly on the old man's face. And there it was. The eye. Wide open. Staring straight at him. A shiver ran down the man's spine. His breath caught in his throat. And then he heard it. A faint sound. Soft. Steady. A heartbeat. Thump thump. Thump thump. At first, he thought it was the old man's heart beating in terror. But as he listened, it grew louder. Thump thump. Thump thump. It pounded against his ears, filled the room, echoed through his skull. Thump thump. Thump thump. He clenched his teeth. The sound wouldn't stop. It was unbearable. Was it coming from the old man? No, it was something else. Something unnatural. And then he realized. It was the clock. The ticking had blended with his thoughts, tricking him. But it didn't matter. The sound was driving him mad. He had to make it stop. The final act. With a sudden scream, the man lunged forward. The old man barely had time to react. He gasped, but the sound was cut off as the man pressed a pillow over his face. The old man struggled, his frail body thrashing, his hands clawing at the air. His legs kicked wildly, but the man held firm. Slowly, the movements became weaker. And then nothing. Silence. The eye was closed forever. The man let out a deep breath. It was over. But he was not foolish. He had planned for this. He worked quickly, carefully. He cut the body into pieces, making sure no trace was left behind. Then, he pried up the wooden floorboards and placed the remains beneath them, pressing the boards back into place as if nothing had ever happened. The room was spotless. Not a single stain. Not a single clue. Perfect. A knock at the door. Then, a knock at the door. The man's heart jumped. He straightened his clothes, took a deep breath, and opened the door. 3 men stood outside, police officers. A neighbor had heard a scream, they said. They were just here to check. The man smiled. He welcomed them in, his voice calm and friendly. He showed them around the house, answering their questions with ease. There was nothing to find. To show his confidence, he even invited them to sit in the very room where the body was hidden. He pulled up chairs and placed them over the exact spot where the old man lay beneath the floor. And for a while all was well. The sound returns. But then a sound. Faint. Distant. Almost imagined. Thump thump. Thump thump. The man's smile wavered. His fingers twitched. No, it was just his imagination. Thump thump. Louder. Thump thump. The police didn't seem to hear it. They continued talking, unaware. But the man heard it. And it was getting louder. Thump thump. Thump thump. The sound filled his ears. It pounded against the walls. The floor seemed to tremble beneath his feet. They knew. The officers knew. They were playing with him, mocking him. He gripped his chair, his breath coming faster. Thump thump. Thump thump. Louder. He couldn't take it anymore. Enough! He screamed, leaping from his chair. His eyes were wild, his hands shaking. Enough, I say. I did it. I killed him. Tear up the floorboards. There, there. Do you not hear it? It's his heart. Still beating. Silence. The officers stared at him, shocked. The sound was gone. The only thing left was the quiet ticking of the clock. He had confessed. He had won. Or had he lost? Had the clock fooled him? Or had the old man's heart truly beaten from beyond the grave? This is how the story ends and our time for today. Don't forget to subscribe if you are hearing this. See you in the next video. Until then, have a good time. God bless you.